we just run down the lake and we pull up on another spot I couldn't pass up. You know, basically we're in some matted vegetation, or in this case tulles again, and you can really see the difference in what I was talking about earlier, like blankets of vegetation. I mean, there's a lot of like sparse little holes and stuff where a fish could be sunning, but 90% of the time I'll catch them like in that thicker stuff. There's little tiny holes that, you know, you kind of need to get a bait into, and most of the time the bite's going to occur on the initial fall. You know, and these fish will just move up off this creek channel and come up here on this flat and get underneath these dead tulles here. So I mean, you know, you can see there's a lot of like kind of open water or more sparse stuff, and sometimes the fish will be in there, but like I said earlier, 90% of the time those bites are going to come in that thicker matted vegetation. You know, and this time of year it's not as important to throw like a 1 or 1.5, 2 ounce weight, just because a lot of the stuff is dead. But later on in the year, you know, this would be overgrown with fresh tulles and grass and all kinds of stuff, and I'll actually come in here and flip a 1.5, 2 ounce weight, and you know, it's just really necessary to do that time of year. But I've found that, you know, flipping the lightest weight possible to get through this stuff is the best thing, because it's more of a natural presentation, and those fish really aren't wanting to react like that to a bait. And in the summertime, when you're flipping that heavy weight, a lot of times it's just it falls past their face and they got to eat it. Let's see what happens here. You know, when I'm flipping those heavy tulles or grass or vegetation or whatever, the one thing that I've learned over the past couple of years is actually how to rig it right. When I say that, I mean that I figured out, you know, guys have been telling me, I always tied a Palomar forever, years and years and years. And guys finally told me the snell knot. And, you know, this here is a bobber stop, which I've been using for a long time. But actually the snell knot has improved my catch ratio probably, shoot, I'd say 30 to 40% more. You know, I get more in the boat, because a lot of times when you hook those fish in that thick vegetation, they have so much leverage against you, they pop off and stuff. But with this knot right here, you know, it's eliminated a lot of fish loss. So, I mean, basically what it does is a standard like Palomar knot will just hang right there, and when you set the hook, it actually, you're pulling the hook straight up into the fish's mouth. Okay, with this, when you set the hook with a snell knot, it'll kick the point of the hook out into the fish's mouth like that. So it's way more aggressive. It actually drives that hook up instead of just going straight. So just by doing that right there, it'll land more fish for you, you know. And then also when I'm flipping this heavy grass, I don't care if it's gin clear water, if I'm flipping heavy matted vegetation, spider wire or braided line is the way to go. This here is spider wire stealth 65-pound test, and I have it on a 7105 Palmax heavy punching rod is what it's called. And I went with a 7-to-1 STX Revo on it, just for the fact that when I hit a fish in a deep mat, say 8, 9, 10 foot, I want to pull that fish out of the structure as quick as possible. You know, a 6-to-1 or a 5-to-1, you can't get as many turns on the reel, and you can't get them out of that stuff fast enough. So that's what how I rig it and how I fish it. All right, I just got done flipping all that stuff, and I came to a little section here where there's some sparse tulles and a little bit of overhanging vegetation. And granted, it's February, but I can't tell you how many big ones I've caught this time of year that are up sunning themselves in super shallow water, and I'll catch them with a frog. This here's that new Tru-Tungsten Mad Max frog. And this time of year, I generally either throw brown, black, or white. I mean, it's that simple, you know, just kind of depending on the water clarity. And basically, you know, you're throwing it like you do in the summertime. I do kind of give them a little bit more time to eat it. You know, just kind of twitch it a couple times right where you think they should be. And what happens is these fish, some fish will get super, super shallow and actually sun themselves and getting ready to spawn. and they have to warm up their egg sacs, and then they'll go through the spawning process. But this time of year can be deadly with a frog. I mean, it's kind of a big fish bait. You know, if I have a decent limit and a term or whatever, and I need a big one and I'm trying for a big bite, I will definitely throw a frog, you know. And it doesn't have to be this kind of, you know, tulles or whatever. It could be old water willow grass, it could be, you know, alligator grass, whatever you're fishing. You know, those bigger females will get up there. And you know, everybody thinks that topwater baits are a summer post-spawn specific bait, but early in the spring, man, it's a great way to catch some big ones. You know, like I mentioned, a frog this time of year, you know, pre-spawn, spawn, it can be deadly as far as catching big fish. You know, they love to get shallow and sun themselves, and there's no better way to sneak up on them. And it's actually, you're fishing it like a finesse bait, whereas in the summer you're kind of fishing it as a power bait. But you know, these new Tru-Tungsten Mad Max frogs, they've had a couple runs of them, and they finally got it right. I mean, this frog is so soft that any very little pressure at all exposes those hooks, and believe me, that's everything in a frog. You know, if it's too hard on top, it just kind of skims off the roof of their mouth, and you miss a lot of fish. But I'm a big time believer in these now that they got them right. You know, the rod that I throw my frogs on is a 735 frog rod from Tackle Warehouse, and I'm always throwing braided line on this. I don't care if it's gin clear water or what I'm fishing. Minimum of 50-pound braided line. I'm throwing spider wire ultra cast, just because that ultra cast allows me to make longer casts and get back in the, you know, far away from the boat, or you know, if I have to throw it, skip it underneath the dock or whatever, it'll allow me to do that. And I'm just putting it on the new Revo Premier. You know, it's a light reel, and you know, the most important thing in frog fishing is having confidence in it and basically being patient with it, especially this time of year, because if you work it too fast, you might bring it right over a big one's head and she's not gonna even know it's there. So be patient and just try it once in a while. You'll be impressed. Well, it was a tough day altogether. I mean, I feel good about the baits I fished and the areas I fished. I don't think the fish are there yet. You know, if I had another day to come out here and do it, I would probably, you know, back off and use more finesse techniques, maybe a drop shot, a shaky head, you know, a football head jig. I think those fish are still out where the lake level was, you know, less than a week and a half ago. This lake was 20 foot down. So I think they're still using the same areas they were a week and a half ago, and it's just a tough day, you know. But with this water temp and stuff, these fish are going to move up, I mean, any day, any hour, really. You know, there's a good chance you can come out here, I can come back tomorrow or the next day and catch, you know, 30 pounds. So, you know, again, I felt really good about the bait selections that I used and the areas I fished, because the fish are going to be there. It's just maybe I just jumped the gun and the weather was too nice and the water temp was rising and I figured they were going to be up, but we'll get them next time.